Oh, didn't see that coming.
Chicago or LA?
LA.
West Side.
Lakes or rivers?
Rivers.
Oh. All right, we've got a hot take from somebody.
Hi, David. This is your friend Marina. I had a very important question for you. I was wondering, who would you rather have dinner with? Beyonce or Jay-Z?
Someone will hurt me for this, but neither.
You defeat the purpose of a hot take. The hot take requires you to answer.
Don't be a wuss.
I think that's actually the hottest take one could give.
You don't like the Queen Bee?
I do like Beyonce, but I don't know if I'd want to get dinner with either of them.
Okay. Here's a good one. You've got Trump or Biden.
This is like, who would I rather interview?
Yeah.
Who's your dream interview guest?
So neither of those would be my dream interview guest,
Well, I mean-
but I'd rather interview Trump.
All right.
I don't know if there's any question about that. I mean, I think that, what am I going to do? Like, push Biden to the left on policy? No. But I think there would be a really interesting story to tell with President Trump. And I think I'll just leave it at that.
Who is a dream interview guest? Who would you just absolutely, utterly love to interview?
Well, I really wanted us to do an interview with Ezra Klein. I thought that would have been really phenomenal if we could have made that happen. I mean, he had a new book that came out, and I love listening to his show, and I love listening to The Weeds. And we had an episode where Dan Snow, who's not a podcaster, was like, David, you're not like Ezra Klein. You'll never be like Ezra Klein. And so that was a really funny intro to one of our podcasts. I don't know. It would have been nice to talk to him. I love talking to people about policy. I love talking to people who are really reflective, deep thinkers. I think sometimes that's why people say they like talking to me. So I think it would have been a really interesting conversation. I don't know what form it would have taken, but it would have been really cool to interview Ezra Klein. And I'm really glad that we got to interview Jane Coaston. That was a really fun interview. I really enjoyed that. And there's just people who kind of come around. And when they grab your attention, you want to talk to them. And sometimes there's really not much more to it than that.
I've got one last hot take. Tyranny is the only way.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think so. I mean, I'm a really, really big believer that the ends do not justify the means. That's probably actually the number one thing I've learned in the last 4 years, especially at law school. This is the whole concept behind the theory of the second best, which is the way that you decide to do something influences where you're going to go. And where you want to go is important. That's what vision is. But how you decide to get there is this step-by-step, day-by-day process. And it matters. It really matters. The way that you do things really matters. And I just can't tell you that, like, figuring out how we were going to do things, and it didn't always work out. We had to try a lot of different things. Really, really, I just really believe that. I would rather fail than do something that I couldn't be proud of the way that we did it.
That is seriously profound. All right. Last one? Last one.
Interviewing or editing?
I think I started UC3P in part because I wanted to ask questions, and I was very selfish in that way, and I wanted to be the one who got to ask people questions. I had worked at an NPR station, and I saw other people asking questions, and I wanted to do interviews, and I wanted to get a chance to say, hey, you know, this is what I can do. See what I can do. I can tell a good story. But I have to admit that since I've been at UC3P, editing has really captured my heart, and I love editing. And when you're in the zone, you're able to edit, and you add music to the words that are being spoken, and you create a feeling and an emotion, and you explain to people what it is they're about to listen to. And you explain to people, okay, well, I'm going to take out this part because I want to get straight to the content, and I want to work on things small, like spacing. I want to even edit the small spaces in between the words, getting out things like ums. And when you do that, you influence something larger called pacing, and having people kind of move along with you. And that's something that no interviewer, I think, can do without editing. I find that to be very unbelievable, that there's not significant amount of editing that goes into something that's perfect. And I'm not saying that our podcasts are perfect, but even I've been doing editing, the longer I've been doing editing, the longer I spend on editing. You know, I'll be doing an episode edit. It'll take me 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, even for a really, really well-recorded episode. And I really just want to make it sound as good as I could possibly make it. And this is the fallacy of it, I guess, is you think as you become better at it, it would take less long. And you do those things faster. There's no question about it. But as you learn more to do to make it become a better product, I think that's why you'll see that the episodes we've been releasing this last year, especially the main page episodes that I always get a chance to kind of look at the final edit and try and help it out, those episodes are head and shoulders far and away better than the episodes that we started off with. And that's because the editing has gotten tremendously better, not necessarily because the interviewing has gotten tremendously better.
And now I think it's time that we start just kind of wrap this up. What happens now? You graduate in a couple of weeks. You've got this pandemic happening and whatnot. What's kind of happening most immediately, and then what do you plan on doing kind of long term?
So at the time of recording this, I don't have a job. So if anyone hears this is like, hey, David, you want a job? Hit me up. You can find me on LinkedIn. But I guess all that aside, probably by the time you hear this, maybe I will, maybe I won't. That's not what the important thing is. The important thing is that after this, I had said this earlier, but I'm going to be hanging up my podcasting mantle. I'm going to move into some other pursuits that I want to do. I want to learn Farsi. I think I probably want to get a cat. Again, I want to make some music, you know, whether mixing music or composing music or whatever. But I think the thing maybe I'm most excited about when it comes to UC3P is that I will get to become a listener. And I'll get to listen. And, you know, not to put any pressure on people, but I will listen to every single podcast episode that comes out. I've listened to every single one that's ever come out. I don't see that changing. I'm a voracious kind of consumer of content. But I just love listening to the work that we do. And this organization will always have a place in my heart. And I don't ever see that changing. But I do kind of get the final role. And I think that's really, really profound. To be able to listen and not go, okay, you know what? I would have changed this, or I would have changed that, or this is how we could do this better, or whatever. Y'all will figure out how to do that. Y'all don't need me. The episodes will still, in some ways, be flawed, and in other ways, be magnificent. Just like when we've been doing it here. I don't know if any of the episodes have been perfect. You know, if they were perfect, then like maybe 100,000 people would listen to them. Who knows? But I get to just be one of those next 100,000 people or whatever who gets a chance to listen and enjoy it and learn and fall in love again.
That was beautiful, David. And I think working with you as the assistant production manager on UC3P has been a profoundly beautiful experience, not only because of what I believe is your relentless pursuit for perfection, which is, you know, amazing in itself, but you've done that with so much grace. You've fostered so much empathy and kindness, and you're so sincerely interested in the well-being and growth of the people that you work with. And I've grown so much from that, and I hope to take that sentiment and that attitude wherever I go. And on that note, this is Sowmya signing off from UChicago Public Policy Podcast.
You know, I can only echo what Sowmya said. I've learned and I've grown, like I've said multiple times throughout this, and I think that it's made me a better leader in the places that I do lead, and it will make me a much more effective podcaster in the future. And again, thank you. I've learned a lot, and I've grown in ways that, again, you don't get the chance to see, unfortunately. But you've planted a little acorn, and it'll turn into an oak, and it's going to be wonderful. So, or it's turning into an oak. It's sprouted. It's spring.
Not a redwood?
California. All right. Yeah. It's a redwood. A sequoia, even grander. But no, really, really appreciate it. And this is Olu signing off too.
Hello, my name is Bryce Fields, and this is the University of Chicago's Public Policy Podcast, main page episode with David Raban.
What episode is it? Is it, I
believe the term is the last one.
The last one. The last episode. No, I meant more along the lines of, I think this is episode 82.
I know there's a format. Okay, give me the format. We'll do it over. Right?
No, I mean, the cool thing is that this isn't the last episode, actually. That's the cool part.
She said it's episode 84.
I don't know what episode it is. Don't quote me.
Okay. So, quoting David Raban, this is episode 84.
It's not. It's definitely not.
Okay. Well, I wanna make sure that I don't provide too much context because that's David's job. So to start us out, I want to know, what did you build? What did you build here?
We built a multi-level marketing scheme that was used to conquer the world.
In addition to our secret plans, what did we build at the University of Chicago Public Policy Podcast?
We built something bigger than just two people in a room talking into microphones. I don't know exactly what it's become, but it's become something more than that. And I think that's pretty cool.
My follow-up is in relation to building. And some may say this is towards the end, but being a part of the journey, I can say that this happened along the way just as much. Just what did you destroy?
I'm not sure we totally destroyed it in the way that maybe we would have liked to in our wildest dreams. But I think we destroyed a system where students didn't have a voice. Can you ask the question one more time, please?
I can, and I think that the response is very telling as well. We did a lot of building, and we destroyed some things.
Yeah, I mean,
What did we destroy at the University of Chicago?
I think we destroyed a system where people said they were asking questions and then didn't actually ask any questions. And I think that we destroyed this sense of, oh, okay, we're going to give opportunities to students, but still it's not really about the students. It's about building like the school as a whole or the department as a whole, and not necessarily individual students' capacity to do things. So I think it's fair to say that like every time an individual podcaster wanted to do a podcast, and I don't mean that just in the sense of someone wanted to do an interview, but someone wanted to talk about something, and they didn't have to be behind the mic, but they wanted to make sure it was heard. Someone wanted questions to be asked. Someone wanted development. I think that was something that we destroyed, that sense of like, you couldn't do that. You can't do this. I think we always had the sense of you can do this, and we'll go from there.
And David, I'd like to ask, what was a breakthrough moment that you saw in one of your podcasters that might not have happened unless they were doing this work?
A few years ago, we had been doing this project called Harris Summer Adventures, which didn't quite pan out, but essentially the concept was we were going to send students with Tascams to different countries where they were doing their summer internships, and then they were going to be able to do recordings and we could play them over the summer. It was a very ambitious project, especially for a lot of podcasters who had no prior experience. There was one student whose name was Lucía Delgado Sanchez, and we gave her a Tascam, and she was also nervous on how to use it. And at some point, I just gave her the piece of advice, like, jump in a pool, and you'll get a sense of what you need to do for making these podcasts. And then, so I think she took that to heart and then ended up recording like 3 interviews in the course of a month or something like that, which was amazing. And those are really interesting interviews. And oftentimes they really didn't have that much to do with public policy, but they were just great interviews. And they were really interesting stories about